Okay, we're going to get started. This is the AZMerit prep for the technology. Our objective today is to have students prepared to use the technology involved in taking the AZMerit test. This started as a project from Houston. They wanted me to show multiple classes how to do this, and doing that one day a week probably would have taken longer than I have available. So we decided to try the WebEx version. So I appreciate everyone working along with me and trying this technology out. So thank you. Most of you have been to the AZMerit website to go to the sample tests. So most of us come here and go straight to sample tests. There's also information for students and families on this, as well as technology resources. When you get into the actual website itself, most of this information came from the calculators and tutorials section, and I'll show you that towards the end. And most of you, again, have gone in and taken the sample test. So what I plan on doing is going through the different types of answers and questions that you might have and how to effectively use the tools that are there. So the first one is an equation response. This you're going to see with most of your math questions in the math section. It kind of looks like a calculator, but it doesn't really do any calculations at all. For this example, it asks you to create the equation. So you'll start with the X or Y and then type in the numbers. On the bottom, it also has a fraction option, as well as like square root and some other things, exponents. Please remember that I'm creating this for third grade and up. So third grade is obviously not going to see something like this, nor will like our sixth graders at the elementary school. They may not have all of these buttons on here either, just the ones that would be applicable to your classes. So with the equation response, you just click on the numbers and then answer your question. In the reading portion, most of the time it's going to have a passage for you to read and then questions on the right-hand side. So part A and part B. What I want you to make sure that you do is oftentimes there's a scroll bar along this side. So make sure that you scroll and get to all of the questions that are there. Some things that I want you to notice are there's two different types on this passage example. One has circles, we call those radio buttons, and one has squares. So when you see the circles, there's one answer for that question, only one. Anytime you see squares, multiple answers can be checked. Sometimes it'll let you know that there's multiple answers, and sometimes it won't. But when you see a square, multiple things can be checked. The hot text is usually a click and drag, so the student will have the ability to click and drag to put things in order. It might also ask you to highlight specific words or phrases within a text. In this example, it's a click and drag to put things in order. Matching item allows you to classify. So in this example, it asks where does each animal live? And you could have multiple answers in a row because it's got those squares. So we have check boxes. Does the bat live in the water, the cave, or the ground? In our instance, he probably lives in the cave, and this student probably should go back and double check. Fish would live in the water, worms would live in the ground. So you would check the ones that go along with it. Check boxes. Multi-select is the one that I was just talking about recently. So here it says, what are the main ideas of the passage? Select the two correct answers. So anytime you have the boxes, you'll be able to answer more than, there will be more than one answer. So in this case, it tells us that there are two. Sometimes it'll tell us, sometimes it won't. So make sure to read the question. So because sometimes it'll give you a kind of a clue as to what you might be answering. Multiple choice, you're going to read the question. And then multiple choice, it's got those circles. And remember, the circles give us one answer. So you're only going to have one answer when you see the circles. There's only one correct answer. Those are the ones that we're most familiar with because we see them often. Natural language proposition response. This one, you'll read the selection and then follow the instructions on the screen. So this one says, explain why Jill makes this statement, then support your answer with one detail from the story. So you're going to want to make sure that you read the selection and then answer the question just like they said. So explain why Jill makes this statement, then support your answer with one detail from the story. So this is just going to be a typed response, but I want you to make sure that you read the actual questions in here so you know how to answer correctly. Short answer and extended response. Again, this is going to be during the reading section, so you'll read the passage that's provided, and then you'll provide your answer on the right-hand side. This one looks more like the Google Docs or a Google Slides that we've used in the past. It's got some formatting tools available, but make sure that you always put your information first and then format it after, because the information is going to be what's most important, and the formatting will be the things that you want to do after you have all your information in there. Again, be sure to look at the questions so you know exactly what they're asking for and answer all the questions accordingly. The editing task with a choice. This will give you a selection or a passage with options, pull down options that you have to choose the correct word that would go in there. It might be a phrase that goes in there, but you'll have to go and read and figure out which one of those words sounds that is grammatically correct in those sentences, and then choose it. A simulation item, I don't believe that you'll see this in the elementary grades, but it's one of the options that was there, so I made sure to include it. This one has create a pizza, and they have to put in the name of the pizza, the size, type of crust, toppings, how many, and some other information, and then it fills out this table, and you have to answer the questions that go along with this. Again, I don't think that this shows up in the elementary grades. I think this shows up in the higher grades, the high school, junior high. But I just wanted to make sure that it was there in case you did need to see that. So those are all the different types of questions. I'm going to go through each one of the tests, the writing, the reading, and the math, so that you can see the different tools that are available. Like, for example, in the writing, it's got some pull down menus with some options that go in there, a couple different pull down menus. The reading has options at the top like notes and a line reader and how to navigate through it. Again, like most of you guys have done this already once before, at least once before, but we have third graders that are doing this for the first time, and we want to make sure that they are just as prepared. And then the math with their pull down menus and some of the options that they have too. I'm just going to go to the website and open up one of the sample tests. For your information, if you wanted to look further into the things that I showed you previously, sorry, I did that too quickly. If you click on calculators and tutorials, it has little videos that go along with each one of those things that I showed you. So it kind of goes a little bit more in depth. There's no sound, there's no audio that goes with it, only text that can be read. So if you wanted students to watch these, if you wanted to share these with your class, those are there. It also has the different calculators that are available. I'm going to go to the sample test. Sign in. And I'm just going to choose 6th grade because they're the ones that requested this in the first place. And we'll start with the writing. So in the writing section, the way it's laid out is it has the passage on the left-hand side, and then the question on the right, or the instructions on the right. You navigate through each section by clicking on the next button, or you can go back. Some things that I want you to notice, highlight something, this menu bar becomes available, And if I click on it, it'll speak the passage, because this is the writing section, so it'll speak it to you. So if you have trouble reading some of it, it'll either speak the whole passage or speak what you have selected. So in this case, I just have a portion of it selected, and that would just speak the portion that I do have selected. The other thing is it has highlighting. So if I wanted to highlight certain parts to be able to go back later, you click and drag to select them here, and then choose your highlighting color. You might want to use different colors for different parts to be able to organize the information in the passages for you. Once you're done reading the whole selection, before you get to that, sorry, up at the top, there's a dictionary. So if I'm reading through and found a word, let's just say remnants, that I wasn't familiar with, I can click on dictionary and type that word in here, remnants, and it'll give me the definition of remnant, and it'll give me synonyms and antonyms for remnant. So if you don't know what a word is, students, there is a dictionary up at the top. There's also a notes button. So if you're going through and you see something that was important, then you can put it in your notes. What I would recommend is typing paragraph 2 so that you know how to get back to it. So reference the paragraphs in there, said, and then whatever the paragraph said. That way you can reference it when you go back to do your writing later. The other thing is that it has is this line reader. So if you have trouble keeping your eyes focused, which some people do, if you click on it, if you choose line reader and then click the line, then it'll highlight that whole line for you while you're going through the text. When you're done reading the passage, make sure you come over to the right-hand side and read all of the requirements of the essay, so you know that you don't miss anything. Scroll down, and after you've read the requirements, look and see what it's going to take to have the perfect essay, because that's what we want. We want to do a really good job on this so that we can get, because we want to be successful at it. So in order to be successful, we need to know the requirements. So make sure that you go through the requirements from the rubric, and then at the bottom is where you would type in your passage. So in here, it has some formatting options, but again, students, make sure that you get your information first and do your formatting as a secondary after you have your information in there, unless it's important to your writing. I'm going to go to the reading. And at the reading portion, you'll notice that we have some of the tools, but not all of them. So this one doesn't give us the dictionary anymore, but it does give us notes, and it also gives us the line reader. So we can click and it'll highlight the whole line as we go along. It has the same as it did in the writing portion with your next page and going back a page. And it also has those tools under the pull down menu. Sometimes you have to have stuff highlighted. So this one also has the highlight selection. Students, when you're going through the reading portion, here is the scroll bar at the side. So make sure that you see this one has a part A, first answer part A, then answer part B. So make sure you scroll so you can see all of the questions that are there. This also gives you a hint as to where you can find this information. So make sure that you're reading all of the information that's provided for you. What I like to do when I'm taking a reading test is first look at the question, then read the passage. So the following question has two parts. What is the central idea of passage 1? So I would read the question and then go back and see if I could find out the central idea of passage 1. Which detail from passage 1 supports the answer in part A? So then I would go back and try to find those answers. Once you've answered number 1, you can either click next up here, or you can navigate through using the numbers on the top. On the right-hand side, there's another pull-down menu. It gives you a tutorial if you need to know how to use this. If you need to know how to use the interface again, that's here. Mark for review. These are nice because if you're not sure if you got the right answer, you can mark it for review and go back to it later. So when you go to submit, it'll let you know that you have some items marked for review. You can go back and check them and try them again or make sure that they're correct. When you're done, you just unmark the review item. The other thing it has, which is really nice for the reading portion, is the strike through. So if you're going through and you read the question and you know number 1 is not correct, then you can click on the strike through. You know letter C is not correct, so you can strike it through, and then you know that you're left with B and D. So it makes it a little bit easier for you to find the correct answers. We have some of the different check boxes, just like we showed earlier. It also, on the top left-hand side, you can navigate through your different pages. So this triangle means that it was an unanswered item, that I haven't done that yet. If it's flagged, there, it'll show your flag here, and it shows which ones are done. It also shows in here that little checkbox that lets us know that that question is finished too. And then finally, I will go to the math section. So in the math section, again, we have some of those same things. It has the line reader. If you click on the pull down menu, you'll see again, we have the speak question. So it'll read the question to you if you're having trouble reading it. It has a notepad so you can use it as a scratch pad for while you're trying to figure out your answers. This also has the mark for review like we saw in the reading portion. So here's an example of the numbers that would be in here. It says, what is the value of the expression when b equals 4? So I would plug 4 in for b, and it would be 1/2 times 4 squared minus 6. I would solve that problem and type in the answer that I thought was correct. If you get to this point and you realize you might have made a mistake in there, then you can click backspace or undo or redo to get to change your answer. When you're done, you'll click next. Here's one that has multiple options. So select all the expressions that are equivalent to 3.1 to the 4th. So you'll look through and see which ones would be the same as 3.1 to the 4th. And we'll click them. Because they're squares, we might have more than one answer. Again, your options stay over here with the strike through. So we saw that in the reading portion. We see that again now when there's multiple options. So if you know that one of them isn't right, you can strike through it. If I know that that one's not right, then I can cross it off and maybe these other ones are, and then I can calculate the ones that are left rather than having to do them all. Here's another example. And for the most part, because we chose the 6th grade one, they're just going to have the numbers that go in here. Some of them, if it does require a fraction, we'll put the fraction options. But if it doesn't require the fraction option, then those won't show up. It'll just show the things that you actually needed. So hopefully that was helpful information for you. If you have any questions or need further assistance or are looking for any suggestions, you can contact me. You're welcome to contact any of your ties. They would be more than happy to help you with this portion of it. And good luck with your testing. Thanks, everyone.